Well, mine was a little different. Having been in a traditional marriage per my parents, the one thing when I got ready to end the marriage, even before the gay thing came up, my parents weren't ready for me to be married. So they didn't want to say, I told you so. And I don't know if they were thinking, because you're gay or that. But so that chapter ended. And that was painful enough because when you first get married and you're the first person to graduate college and first, everything was on me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize separating my family was separating my family from the in-laws, from my son, from the people next door, from the folks that liked the guy. My brothers and were attached to him. So that ends, and fast forward, I live my life the way I want to for 2 years. And then I decide that I didn't want to deceive my mother. I knew that having a friend with her, my mother is a truth teller. She's a straight shooter. Don't sugarcoat it, don't omit, don't lie. And I felt like my friendship was leading her to believe that it was my girlfriend or my best friend when I knew that it was changing. And the person was way more forward and a little more advanced than me. They were not new at this, I was. And they were also Greek, not an AKA, but so I just needed them to slow down. Let me get Frances ready and right before you go deciding I need to say something to her. So one day inadvertently when the feeling had got so great, I just blurted it out. That's not my friend, I love her. And my mother said, what? And she looked at me as if I had said the most disgusting thing in the world. And I remembered her look. She said, why would you say that? And I was like, because it's the truth. And she just went to her end of the house, and I stayed on the other end. I got things together, and I got out of there. And we didn't talk about it for a while. Little did I know that the letters that the person had been sending me as we were building this friendship that my ex-husband had gotten, and he had been showing my mother. So a portion of them convinced themselves that this was what was my issue. This is why your daughter can't have a marriage. And this sick girl is out here getting your baby.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of presented that way. So I don't regret telling her the way I did and when. It was more important for her to know that I did not want her to feel deceived and that this is not what you think. We can talk about what it is, but Mom, that is not my friend. Mom, I am not around the corner. Mom, I am out of town having the time of my life with a girl.
Yeah.
Every trip you took was to such and such. When you went, y'all were in, and she was not well with that.
Yeah.
But my aunts were. And those ladies who had built me up my whole life, who had surrounded me, who had told me great things and the truths about everything, said, she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I said, huh? My aunt, the one that is her bestie, said, listen to me. She'll be fine. You got that grandchild. You going down that road. You go live the rest of your best life. Your mother is still proud of you. This is just her thing to swallow. And I was like, okay, it sure doesn't feel like that, though. So I moved out of town, came down here, started life over. Without her in my corner, without her chatting to me. She would talk on the phone to my son and hang up by the time I got home, which was cool because he had me in the corner, so I felt great. They planned meals together when he come in, and he was also upset at the same time for me changing cities. Not the gay thing, but Dad is not down here, you change cities, and Mimi's not talking to us? I don't know what you're doing, Mom. Yeah, this 7-year-old was like, all he kept saying is, are we still rich? Are you going to still have your job?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we were not rich, and yes, we're going to still have a job. You can still have a house, you can still have a room. And the lady's going to live with us? I was like, the lady's going to live with us. And he was like, man.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of manage, post-divorce was fresh, young child, changing cities, moving grandson, dad in ear on weekend. What is your mom doing? So a lot of mine was kind of like a gumbo, but what I watched my mother do was she was only going to let people talk about me so long. So she kind of got her stuff together. Something brought her to Atlanta. And my godmother, whose family, called and said, we're at a play to see Tyler Perry at the Civic Center. Come over here. And I was like, I want to come, but I don't want my feelings hurt. She was like, come over here, get us off this bus. When I pulled up, that little woman got off the bus, got in the front seat. I drove her to my house. My son ran out, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Literally. I don't know that we revisited. I don't know that she told me what it was. She just said, we're going to be fine. And it went from there.
Shout out to Black mamas, but also shout out to Black aunties.
Yeah.
Because you had,
too. My grandma had to tell my mom, be like, look, baby, like, you need to get with, like, this is your daughter. And, you know, like, this is more important. And it was literally my grandma that had to talk to my mom, you know, and that my mom sees her mother as literally like a goddess.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, you know, I'm the one that needs to redirect my thinking and, you know, have more of an open heart. So it is important for like our families and extended families to maybe sometimes like help gear the conversation for understanding.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm curious to know, you know, like does your mom like fully accept the relationship now, or like how did that happen?
Totally different.
Yeah.
First woman, I feel like your parents think they do it to you because her parents probably felt the same way about me, right? Her children adored me. We put a life together, spent 9 years. My mother loved her children, but was still a little standoffish with old girls, still friends with kids to this day. They will come in town to see this woman.
Yeah.
Second woman, fast forward, she looked more like my mother, shorter, a little more stouter, a little softer, not as rough, was a hairstylist, took her mom to the end. My mom saw more of what she hoped was more feminine and less dykish in this girl. And so she would sit her at the table with my aunts on Sunday and just like it was old times, even more closeness than I felt I had at times. But that led me to know that she cared about me being with someone that cared about me. And she didn't have that feeling from the first person entirely.